Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Minimum Battles run in Pokemon Gold. Today our contender is Mareep, who is one of my personal favorite Pokemon and one of the Pokemon I always used in my playthroughs of Gen 2. It is available very early in the game and is a strong electric type, so it makes a great early addition to teams. As far as stats go, Mareep isn't great though. It has decent special attack and HP, but its defensive stats are pretty low and its speed is a really bad base 35. This will make certain battles a lot harder since the opponent's Pokemon will most likely get to attack first, and will make trainers with more than a few Pokemon a lot harder since we'll be continuously taking damage throughout the fights. Another issue Mareep has is its move pool. Aside from learning some strong electric type moves like Thunder, Mareep doesn't get much in the way of coverage moves, with the best options being Iron Tail and Return. It does get access to Thunder Wave early, which may help, but it's not going to be easy or consistent. I'm honestly not sure if Mareep can finish the run, or if it'll get hard walled by a random trainer early on. As for the rules, only Mareep can be used in battle. Other Pokemon are allowed for HMs, but we cannot use them in battle. No items in battle, only held items and items outside of battle are allowed. No cheats or exploits. No daycare. I might lump this in with cheats and exploits in the future since they serve the same purpose. And finally, minimum battles. Any optional trainer must be skipped and no battling wild Pokemon for XP. Looking at it before doing the run, I don't suspect we'll have much problems until Jasmine, but I really have no idea what we'll do with her. After that it should be smooth sailing until the post game. I guess we'll see if I'm right, and with all that said, let's see if Mareep can defeat Pokemon Gold on minimum battles. Starting the run, we have replaced Totodile with Mareep. We did this since I figured Chikorita would be the hardest starter for our rival to have, since it resists our electric attacks and has Razor Leaf early, which crits a lot. We then go through the usual early game routine, beating the first rival fight and picking berries. Since Mareep only starts with Tackle and Growl, it becomes pretty apparent that Mareep does not have good attack stats. Even with 2 crits, it took 7 hits to take out this rival's Chikorita. We did take 1 Growl partway through, but this does not bode well for the later parts of the run. We head up to Violet City and go to the first trainer in Falkner's gym with his level 9 Spearow. Spearow only knows Peck, which we resist, and we take it down. We do the same to the trainer with 2 Pidgey, where we learn Thunder Shock after the first Pidgey. Now that we know this move, we can fight Falkner, who we completely destroy. We outspeed and one-shot his Pidgey and then take a Mudslap from Pidgeotto. We get a lucky paralysis on Pidgeotto, so we outspeed turn 2 and finish it off. Even without the paralysis, this probably wouldn't have taken very long, but it's nice to have an easy Falkner fight after the last run with Cyndaquil. As we head south towards Union Cave, we defeat the one mandatory battle here and grab the Old Rod. Inside the cave, however, we run into a problem. In Pokemon Gold and Silver, the first trainer in Union Cave has 3 Geodudes of varying level that resist our tackles and are immune to Thunder Shock. They also only know tackle themselves, so they hurt us each turn. In Pokemon Crystal, this trainer is actually optional, which makes me wonder if it might be interesting to try it in that game as well. There aren't any TMs to grab to make this any easier, since we can't get Swift until after this hiker, and Mareep can't learn the Mudslap TM that Falkner gave us. We also can't get Flash to lower the dude's accuracy since it's locked behind the optional trainers in Sprout Tower. Our strategy is to use Growl to make each Geodude only do 1 damage with Tackle, then spam Tackle ourselves and hope for good crit luck for us, no misses, and hopefully the Geodudes to miss their tackles, especially when the Growls are getting set up. This is an incredibly grindy fight, making up for the easy Falkner I suppose. If the Geodudes get a crit on us, the run is dead, and we actually need to crit the Geodudes at least a few times, otherwise we'll run out of PP before we finish the last one off, and struggle ourselves to death. Us missing is also really bad since we have so few PP to spare. Eventually we get an attempt where we crit 4 crits on the last Geodude and defeat it with only 1 HP remaining. This took about 20 minutes of real-time attempts at 10x speed, which means over 3 hours of time at normal speed, not counting the time it would take to reset the game if we weren't using save states. At this point I'll go into a bit more detail on how I use save states in these runs. I only use save states outside of battle and before I make the first move selection during fights. This forces the strategies I use to be able to defeat the trainer's entire team from start to finish, and doesn't devolve into just save scumming for crits or misses on every single attack. This just cuts down on the time it takes to reload the game each time and talk to the trainers. It doesn't provide any tactical advantage over the game. With that unexpectedly difficult battle out of the way, we're free to grab the TM for Swift to replace Tackle and head to Azalea Town. We defeat all the Rocket Grunts and Slowpoke well and learn Thunder Wave at level 16 for our troubles, then head to Bugsy. Bugsy's pretty easy, we just spam Thunder Shock, 2-shotting the Cocoons and 3-shotting Scyther to secure the win. Now with Bugsy down, we can attempt Rival 2. We don't have any berries left since we used the last one for the Geodude hiker, so we equip a Poison Cure berry since Bayleaf can poison us. But Ghastly likes to use Hypnosis, which is annoying, and Bayleaf crits a lot with Razor Leaf, which does a lot of damage, making it clear that I was right about the rival using Chikorita being the hardest. We attempt to paralyze it with Thunder Wave, then spam Swift to take it down. With this strat, it doesn't take too long to get through, where we can then defeat the Zubat with Thunder Shock pretty easily. We caught a Sandshrew in Union Cave to use Cut, and we pick up Headbutt to replace Swift for the Flinch chance, then head to Goldenrod. We do our usual errands, grabbing the radio card, bike, defeating some trainers, and getting the Quick Claw, and some loose items before we then head to Whitney's gym. Whitney is tough. The Clefairy is a 3-shot with Headbutt, and it can be trolly with Metrodome, as well as doing a surprising amount of damage with Double Slap. The Miltank is the real issue for this fight though. Its rollout will take us out quickly if we don't get lucky with paralysis or flinches, but the real issue is Stomp. Stomp is doing about 25 damage, so unless we get through Clefairy with full HP, it's going to 2-shot us. All we can really do is paralyze it and then spam Headbutt and hope for either flinches or it to be fully paralyzed enough times to get through. Turns out it's an 8-hit KO to take down Miltank, so we need some good luck here. It takes about 5 minutes, but we do eventually take down Whitney. We grab the Squirt Bottle and make our way up to Ecruteak, where we battle the Kimono Girls for some XP before Morty's gym. Their sand attacks are annoying, but we don't have too much issue. We also use the Goldenrod here to catch a Goldeen for Surf. We can then go to Morty's gym and start fighting the trainers there, and it becomes apparent pretty quickly that we're in trouble. We don't even one-shot the Ghastlies consistently, and definitely don't one-shot the Haunters. This means that Morty will have a lot of turns to use annoying attacks like Hypnosis and Curse, which will ruin our attempts. I go grab the Mintberry west of Ecruteak since I figure we'll be put to sleep at least once and go to Morty. We start the fight and... Curse. That's bad. Ghastly outspeeds us and keeps using Curse, and there's no way that we'll be able to beat the rest of his Pokemon in 4 turns. It's pretty clear that this isn't going to work, and we can't go to Olivine to get more XP since we would need to fight an optional trainer to come back to Ecruteak, since we can't fly until we beat Chuck, which requires Surf for Morty. We also can't go east since we can't get to the Red Gyarados without Surf to start the Rocket Hideout section of the story. We're kind of just stuck here. I play around with using the Quick Claw instead of the Mintberry, and for whatever reason Ghastly doesn't use Curse on us when we don't have the Mintberry equipped. Instead it'll use Lick to try to paralyze us. This allows us to get through the Ghastly with 2 Thunder Shocks, but then the Haunter or Gengar take us out. Haunter knows Hypnosis, Nightshade and Curse, and then Gengar knows Hypnosis, Shadow Ball and Dream Eater. This battle just isn't looking possible at this point, and I'm beginning to think the run might be dead. But then I have a terrible thought. For a whopping 5,500 coins, the game corner in Goldenrod City has TM25. Thunder. We barely have enough money for 1,000 coins at this point in the game, so I have to actually gamble my way up to 5,500 to purchase the TM, so I play the card flip game to grind the coins. Using save states allows me to guess with perfect accuracy and get the maximum number of coins each turn, and even with that, it still took me 8 minutes of real time at 10x speed to get up to 5,500. If I had played it legitimately, it would have taken forever. I do grab the TM for Thunder here and also pick up the TM for Return from the department store for later, then head back to Morty. We teach Thunder over Growl since I'm not ready to get rid of Thunder Shock or Thunder Wave just yet, and I intend to teach Return over Headbutt when I absolutely have to. In the Morty fight, we get a Quick Claw pop and use Thunder on Ghastly to one-shot it. Haunter then outspeeds us and uses Curse, but I don't reset because I'm curious how much Thunder does to Gengar. Thunder takes down Haunter since it's only at half HP and Gengar comes out. Thunder does about 2/3, so a crit could one-shot. It uses Mean Look and we miss our Thunder, leaving us with half HP. We finish it with the next Thunder when it misses a Hypnosis, and we're on to the final Haunter, who hits us with a Nightshade, taking us to 19 HP, and we one-hit KO it with Thunder. And with that, we're through Morty. I honestly didn't expect Thunder to make that much of a difference. Morty went from impossible to pretty easy just by getting a stronger electric move. Even though we got cursed, we still managed to win on the first try, which I would call an overwhelming success. We clear out the mandatory battles in the lighthouse and Jasmine sends us to Cianwood for some medicine. We grab the HM for strength before leaving Olivine and teach it to our Sandshrew. Once we surf across the sea to Cianwood, we grab the secret potion for Jasmine and head to Chuck's gym. We make pretty quick work of all the trainers here using Thunder since their Pokemon are all mainly physically defensive, although they do a fair bit of damage to us with our low defense stat. For once I'm actually not too worried about Chuck. As a kid he was always a gym leader out of this gauntlet of 3 that I struggled with the most. His Primeape and Poliwrath are very strong for this point in the game and control by confusing us and using Hypnosis. Surf is also a very strong move for this Poliwrath to be using. With Mareep however, he isn't very hard at all. Thunder just about one-shots Primeape, or it's a 3-shot with Headbutt, and then Poliwrath's an easy one-hit KO with Thunder. We now get flying and go back to Mahogany to deal with Pryce. His Steel and Dugong will both be taken up by Thunder, but Piloswine's part ground type, so we have to use Headbutt for it to teach Return. I opt to stick with Headbutt for the flinch chance, and it looks to be about an 8-hit KO since Pryce uses a Hyper Potion. Piloswine does a lot of damage with Fury Attack and can take us out with a couple Blizzards. It doesn't take too long though before we get through the Piloswine because it misses a hit Blizzard, and we take out Dugong with Thunder for the win. For the Rocket Hideout section of the story, there's really nothing to say that's too interesting. We catch the Red Gyarados and battle a bunch of weak Rocket Grunts, and at the end of it all, we catch a few Electrode and get the HM for Whirlpool from Lance. We did catch a Noctowl at the Lake of Rage because I ran into it in the wild and realized that I once again forgot to catch a Pidgey earlier. I actually did this section of the game before going to Chuck, but decided to mention it here since it gave me an excuse to discuss something actually interesting while the Rocket footage played. Because after this we can't put off Jasmine any longer. We've done all the possible battles we can before we have to fight her, so let's talk about what we're up against. Jasmine has two Magnemite that love to spam Thunder Wave and Supersonic and both outspeed us. She also has a Steelix who is immune to our electric attacks. Steelix has insanely high defense stats and resists our normal type moves to make things even worse. Even if we somehow manage to get past the Magnemites, I just don't see how we could do enough damage to the Steelix before it kills us with Iron Tail or Rock Throw. She doesn't have any ground moves thankfully, but Mareep doesn't have good defense. We might be able to take 2, maybe 3 Iron Tails and survive, but all of Mareep's typical moves are resisted. Now, there's something I haven't mentioned yet. I actually anticipated Jasmine being horrible before starting this run. And before starting this run with Mareep, I brainstormed a possible solution. I wasn't going to put all this time into a run just to hit Jasmine and give up. I wanted at least an idea of how it would be possible. So I've mentioned several times now that Mareep has really bad coverage options outside of normal and electric type moves, and that's true. The only direct damage dealing move that Mareep can learn in this generation that isn't normal or electric type is Iron Tail, which we get from Jasmine. Technically. There is one other move Mareep learns that could save this run. TM10, Hidden Power. Hidden Power is available from the house in the back of the Lake of Rage and is a very strange move. Its type and base damage depends on the DVs of the Pokemon using it. Anticipating this, I actually didn't choose max DVs for this Mareep when I started the game. Instead I manipulated my attack and defense DVs so that our Mareep's Hidden Power was a 70 base power water type move, which in Generation 2 uses our special stat, which is Mareep's best offensive stat, and also Steelix's worst defensive stat. On top of this, by going back to Cherry Grove City and surfing across to the little island there, we can get a Mystic Water from the nice man there, which boosts our water type attacks by 10%. So when we go back into the Jasmine fight, having learned Hidden Power over Thunder Shock, we're able to two-shot both Magnemites with Hidden Power. We need the first one not to use Thunder Wave or for it to fail. The second one can paralyze us if it wants, we just need to not get fully paralyzed, then we're able to just barely two-shot Steelix for the victory. This took a few attempts because Magnemite wouldn't miss Thunder Wave, but overall it wasn't nearly as bad as the earlier gym leaders like Whitney or Morty were. We skip over the radio tower part of the story now because there isn't much to say. The only thing worth mentioning is the rival fight in the underground, which is more difficult than I originally expected. Golbat outspeeds us and will use Confuse Ray as well as flinching us with Bite. Then it's on to the Magnemite who will try to paralyze us. Haunter's Shadow Ball does a lot of damage to us and Curse is an instant loss. Even the Sneasel can do decent chip damage with Feint Attack since it outspeeds us, leaving us in a really bad position to fight their final Meganium. Even if we do get through to Meganium with decent HP and not being paralyzed, it can still use Poison Powder to poison us, and its Body Slam does a lot of damage and can paralyze us as well, and its Razor Leaf crits a lot, making it a challenging fight. Our strategy for it is to paralyze it with Thunder Wave and go for Headbutt flinches like we did with Miltank the last time we had a really hard fight in Goldenrod. It probably takes us about 5 minutes to get through, but I really didn't anticipate having this much of a struggle with the rival. Once we do finish the radio tower off, we can head towards Blackthorn and go straight to Claire's gym, picking up some important items along the way. We do a quick date change to Sunday to grab the magnet from one of the weak siblings, Electrotique, which boosts our electric type moves by 10%. This allows us to one-shot all of the trainer's Pokemon in the gym except for the one Dragonair, which is a 2-hit KO, and that's on to Claire herself. We equip a Paralysis Cure Berry, anticipating the Dragonairs to use Thunder Wave, and we want to get as far into the fight as possible without being paralyzed. We use Headbutt to get flinches and hope for a couple Thunder Wave misses if possible. We do outspeed the Dragonair surprisingly, which makes this fight a lot easier than I thought it would be. After a few attempts we do get to Kingdra but are paralyzed. We survive a Surf, but it looks like Thunder will be a 2-hit KO against it, and we faint. We get to Kingdra a couple more times before we finally get a Paralysis with Thunder, allowing us to outspeed it turn 2 to finish it off. We do our usual errands before heading towards the Pokemon League, traveling around Johto to collect the 5 rare candies and a couple elixirs for PP during the Elite Four. We then fight a couple mandatory fights as we head towards Victory Road, which aren't too bad. The final rival fight is very similar to the one in the Goldenrod Underground. His team is more or less just a beefed up version of that one, with his Magnemite becoming a Magneton and adding a Kadabra to the mix. They're also buffed by about 5 or 6 levels each, but so are we. The fight goes about the same as the previous one, needing some decent luck. He does send the Pokemon out in a different order this time, which is actually beneficial to us, leading off with Sneasel, which will use Screech, which can fail 25% of the time, allowing us to one-shot it with Thunder. Magneton likes Thunder Wave, which can also fail, and we 2-hit KO it with Hidden Power. Haunter's always trolly, using moves like Curse and Confuse Ray, but we can one-shot it with Thunder, then Kadabra will use Future Sight every time, allowing us to 2-shot it with Headbutt since it will try to recover turn 2. Eventually we get a run to Haunter where it decides to use Confuse Ray and we take it down. We snap out of Confusion the next turn and take out Kadabra, getting us to Meganium with almost all of our HP. We paralyze it with Thunder Wave and it sets up Reflect, raising its defense, meaning we'll have to use Thunder instead of Headbutt. We land the first Thunder and it looks like we'll need at least 2 more, but it hits a Razor Leaf, taking us to 54 HP. We land the next Thunder and Meganium is fully paralyzed, but we miss the next 2 Thunders, and luckily Meganium is fully paralyzed both times, allowing us to finally take it down. Last up is Golbat, who flinches us a couple times, getting us to 10 HP before we finally connect with a Thunder for the win. That was stressful. We stock up on Hyper Potions and Full Heals and go right into the Elite Four now. First up is Will with his Psychic types, leading off with Xatu, who likes to use Confuse Ray turn 1, so we have a Bitterberry equipped to negate that. The Xatu is an easy one-hit KO with Thunder. We've taught Return over Headbutt here finally, since I expect we'll need a stronger normal type move for the Elite Four. Jinx is second and can use Lovely Kiss to put us to sleep, and Psychic does a lot of damage. Double Slap is best case Ontario here, since it doesn't do a lot of damage and we can 2-shot it with Return. Then it's on to Executor, who is going to be a 3-hit KO with Thunder and nearly takes us out with Psychic, as well as being able to use Leech Seed to drain our HP each turn. It does have the chance to use Reflect, which would be ideal, and if we get a lucky Paralysis, we can go on to Slowbro and the final Xatu, which should both be one-shots with Thunder, so we just need a little luck to get through Executor. The final Xatu does outspeed us, so we need to get through it with at least half HP to win, also not needing to miss our Thunders. We do eventually get an attempt where we get through Executor with 53 HP, and Will decides to send out the second Xatu before Slowbro for some reason. I hadn't seen him do this before, and I'm thinking he did it because he thought Psychic would defeat us. His Psychic does take us down to only 6 HP, meaning it was likely a range to kill, and we hit our Thunder to take it out. We then hit Slowbro with a Thunder for the win. Now we go into Koga, typically considered the weakest of the Gold Silver Crystal Elite Four, and for good reason. His main strategy is using Toxic and Evasion moves to troll, but all of his Pokemon are quite weak. Ariados is a one-shot with Thunder. Much to my surprise, so is Fortress, although it's a range. I always thought Steel resisted Electric, but it's the other way around. That never made sense to me since Metal conducts electricity, but whatever, we can't apply too much logic to a Pokemon game. Venom also one-shot, but Muck will be 2 hits, and we use Minimize, so we need to hit through that. Then finally it's on to Crobat, who will spam Double Team, so we just need to hit a Thunder through Double Team to secure the win. I think this was a 3rd try victory, because I had a couple attempts where I missed Thunder with all the evasion tactics, but overall pretty easy. Koga lived up to his reputation today as the worst Elite Four member, except as Bruno, and I'm a little worried. In most playthroughs, Bruno is a pushover, often noted as the 2nd worst Elite Four member behind Koga. He's a lot better than he was in RBY since he actually has a decent moveset with some strong fighting type moves and some type coverage, but typically still not that good. I'm worried, however, because Mareep's defense is bad and its speed is bad, meaning we'll be outsped and probably take damage from each of his Pokemon and might just not have enough HP to take down his team. I guess we'll find out here. Bruno leads with Hitmontop, whose only attacking move is Dig, which is super effective against us. The wiki claims it has Pursuit, but I've never seen it use it. To my surprise, we outspeed it since we're a higher level, which gives me some hope. I noticed here that I forgot to use an Elixir and only have 5 Thunders left, which will be an issue, but I'm just testing out the fight to try and see what I'm going to do, so I trudge on. We take out the Hitmontop with a Return to save PP on Thunder, then easily one-shot Onix with Hidden Power since it's 4 times super effective. Next is Hitmonlee, who does about half our HP with High Jump Kick, but we get a lucky crit with Thunder to take it out. Hitmonchan comes out, hits a couple Mach Punches to take us down to 16 HP before we move on to his final Pokemon, Machamp. We outspeed and hit a Thunder, which paralyzes it, but it takes us out with Cross Chop. Not bad for a first attempt, to be honest. I use an Elixir for more Thunder PP and go back to fighting him. We reset for Paralysis or a crit on Hitmontop and see that Dig does about 1/3 of our HP, which is less than I expected, but Hitmonlee's Double Kick is a real problem for us. Combined with a High Jump Kick, it can easily take us down into red HP, where Hitmonchan can use its priority Mach Punch to finish us. We need to run to Machamp where we either have enough health to survive a Cross Chop if that's possible, or to get a Paralysis or Cross Chop miss so we can take it out. Hitmonlee can miss with high jump kick, and it can potentially even use swagger, so it's not unrealistic for us to win with this current strategy. We do get back to Machamp with 34 HP eventually and get a paralysis, but Machamp breaks through, misses its cross chop, and we finish it with another Thunder, securing us the victory. Next up is Karen, the final Elite Four member and probably the most irritating. Umbreon leads off and uses Confuse Ray and Sand Attack, lowering our accuracy and confusing us, so we equip our other Bitter Berry to eliminate that. Vileplume uses Stun Spore to paralyze us, Gengar has Curse and Lick, which can also paralyze us, and the Houndoom and Murkrow both do a lot of damage against us. This battle is pretty luck dependent at the best of times, so fighting her with only one Pokemon is never easy. Basically what we need to happen is to not get our accuracy lowered by Umbreon, not get paralyzed by Vileplume, not get cursed or paralyzed by Gengar, and hopefully have enough HP left to two-shot Houndoom with Hidden Power and Murkrow with a Thunder. This is easier said than done however, since both Umbreon and Vileplume are 3-hit KOs with Thunder/Return, and Gengar's a 2-shot with Thunder and Hidden Power. We do get an attempt after a few minutes where we do get cursed by Gengar, but have enough HP that I think I can maybe survive a Flamethrower from Houndoom, so I continue. I get a very useful crit with Thunder to one-shot it, and then take out the Murkrow for the victory. In this generation, statuses which do damage each turn, like Curse, Leech Seed, or Poison, don't apply the damage if you knock out the opponent that turn. Because of this, I didn't take the Curse damage after taking out the Gengar or the Houndoom, so I was able to survive Murkrow's Feint Attack, which definitely would have killed us if we had taken that Curse damage. In fact, looking back at the footage, we had less than half HP after Houndoom, so the Curse damage alone would have defeated us. If that were the case, we would have just reset when we got cursed and went for an attempt where we didn't get cursed, but we'll take what we can get. Now on to the final fight of the base game, the Pokemon Champion Lance. Lance is actually the Elite Four member I was the least worried about when I was originally contemplating this run. He leads off with Gyarados, who's 4 times weak against electric types, and all of his Pokemon are part flying type, which means Thunder's super effective, or at least normal effective against the 3 Dragonites. However, when I get to Lance, I was in for a rude awakening. So originally when I first got to Lance, I was at level 57. This is because I had used my rare candies versus Will, because I wasn't really thinking it would be an issue, and I wanted to be able to 2-shot the Exeggutor, which made Will a lot quicker to defeat. Turns out it was an issue, because all of Lance's Dragonites outspeed our poor, slow Mareep, and like to spam Thunder Wave and our 2-shots with Thunder. This led to a problem where we just didn't have enough HP to get through the fight. Even if we did, by some miracle, make it through to the final Dragonite without getting paralyzed, its Outrage did over half our HP. Then when we took it out, Aerodactyl's Rock Slide would finish us, or if we got really lucky and Rock Slide missed, Charizard would come in and outspeed us and kill us with its 100% accurate Flamethrower. I tried a lot of things here. Quick Claw, Magnet, Paralysis Cure, Berry, but nothing worked. We don't have any setup moves either since Mareep doesn't learn any via level up or TM. It does learn Defense Curl, but our physical defense doesn't matter at all in this fight since Dragon and Fire are both special types in Gen 2. It was theoretically possible to win if we got extremely lucky with Paralysis and misses, so we got to Charizard with full HP, but it would take hours of resets and that wasn't good enough for me. Eventually I realized I had to try something else, so I reset the entire Elite Four and didn't use my rare candies at will. The fights were essentially the exact same, except we were taking slightly more damage and dealing slightly less, but it didn't really change much. We also went to the Goldenrod department store and purchased all the Carbos and Calciums we could to make our special and speed as high as possible. When we got back to Lance, we used all of our candies and we were still at level 57, but now we had 84 speed, which is just enough to naturally outspeed the level 47 Dragonites. This allowed us to be able to get by them with a lot less luck and make it to the final Dragonite with full HP. Only needing a couple of lucky Paralysis or Thunder Wave fails to do so. The Gyarados will always set up Rain Dance turn 1, so our Thunder is actually 100% accurate while it's up. So we intentionally use Hidden Power turn 1 to allow it to use Rain Dance, and it lasts until we're on the last hit of the second Dragonite. We have the Quick Claw equipped so that if we get to the final Dragonite, we can hopefully get a pop on either it, Charizard, or Aerodactyl to have enough health to clutch out the victory. A single pop on any of the 3 is all we need. Turns out that when you get to the level 50 Dragonite with full HP, it will use Safeguard turn 1 for some reason, maybe thinking that it'll use Thunder Wave. This gives us an extra turn to use Thunder and hopefully paralyze or crit to get by without damage. Then we're able to survive Charizard's Flamethrower if we have at least half HP, and we get the quick Claw pop on the Aerodactyl to get the win. I actually beat Lance twice here in the span of about 10 minutes. I popped off pretty hard after the first victory and accidentally allowed Mareep to evolve into a Flaffy, so I had to reset to before the fight and redo it. Overall, it wasn't too bad though. If I wouldn't have been so cocky and gotten the stat items earlier, I could have saved myself an hour or so of redoing the Elite Four at the lower level. Anyways, we've officially beaten the base game now, so it's on to the post game. For the post game, it'll once again be underwhelming. I can't think of any battles that would be too hard before blue and red. We go through the motions, going to Kanto and completing the power plant subquest to unlock the entire region and begin the boss rush. Surge. Surge can be choice since Raichu likes to paralyze us, and his electrodes can use double team and explosion which will one-shot us. It only takes a handful of attempts before we can take his team out with return and hidden power for the Magneton. Sabrina. Use Thunder to one-shot our entire team, as long as we don't get hit by Espeon Sand Attack or miss a Thunder while we're in the clear. Misty. Use Thunder on everything for one-shots and use 2 returns on Quagsire. Erica. Spam return on everything and Thunder on Jump Off for an easy win. I didn't forget Janine this time. One-shot everything with Thunder or return. Doesn't matter since she's so underleveled. Seriously, her highest level Pokemon is level 39. The first Elite Four member Will's lowest Pokemon was level 40. I really think they must have reorganized the entire intended progression of the game pretty late in development, otherwise why would they have a post-game gym leader be this week? Brock. Brock's also easy. Hidden Power one-shots the rocks and Thunder one-shots the fossils. Blaine. Hidden Power one-shots Magcargo and Magmar and nearly takes out Rapidash in one hit. We could have equipped a Mystic Water to secure the one-hit KO, but the fight is easy either way. Now with the Kanto gym leaders down, we can go fight Blue in Viridian City. He's by far the hardest Kanto gym leader and has a very diverse team. I struggled with Blue for a very long time, and the entire time I was fighting him I kept thinking to myself, man, I'm just getting super unlucky. I really do think that I should have won this fight about 6 times before I eventually did win, after changing strategies a few times. To get an idea of what I mean, let's look at how the fight goes. We take a quick attack from Pidgeot and one-shot it with Thunder, and we one-shot Rhydon with Hidden Power of course since it's 4 times super effective. Then Blue sends out Alakazam. Alakazam outspeeds us and will either use Psychic, which does a lot of damage, or will use Reflect, raising his team's physical defense. Ideally we get Reflect and one-shot it with Thunder, then go on to Exeggutor. Exeggutor is the reason Blue took me so long. It's a 3-shot with Thunder and likes to use Leech Seed, which drains our HP, and Blue likes to use full restores on it, so by the time we get to the Arcanine, it can outspeed us and finish us with either Flamethrower or Extreme Speed. If Exeggutor doesn't use Leech Seed, it will use Solar Beam, which if we paralyze it with Thunder or get a crit means we can get to Arcanine with nearly full HP. Then we can 2-shot it if we get a quick Claw Pop, crit, or paralyze, then we only have the Gyarados left who's a 1-shot with Thunder. Gyarados does outspeed us, but it will typically set up Rain Dance or we'll try to use Hyper Beam or Hydro Pump, which can both miss. And we have a Quick Claw equipped, so there's a 23% chance we go first anyways. Doesn't sound too bad, right? Just get a 50-50 for Alakazam to use Reflect, then no Leech Seed, and a crit or paralyze on Exeggutor and some luck on Arcanine and Gyarados to secure the win. Should take a few dozen attempts at best. Wrong. I was fighting Blue for nearly 2 hours. Now that we have the basic strategy laid out, let's talk about how many times I managed to get to Arcanine at full HP. I got there about 30 times with full HP and never once did I get a crit or a quick Claw Pop. I paralyzed it 9 times and never once was it fully paralyzed, and several times it actually crit me for a 1-shot from full HP or burned me. I got to Gyarados a total of 3 times, and the first 2 times I got to it, not only did I miss Thunder, but Gyarados actually hit its Hydro Pump after setting up Rain Dance to 1-shot me. Anyways, in the winning attempt I was actually trying out Zap Cannon for Exeggutor. It's a 50% accurate electric move which has 100 base power but a roughly 100% chance to paralyze. This was actually my first attempt with Zap Cannon and you'll see it didn't matter at all. I got a crit with it versus Exeggutor to take it under half HP, so I was able to finish it with Thunder. I then get a crit Thunder and Quick Claw Pop on Arcanine to one-shot it and hit my Thunder on Gyarados after it uses Rain Dance, making it 100% accurate for the win. Realistically I should have gotten this luck an hour earlier, but we'll take it. Now for the final battle, Pokemon Champion Red. We gather the last rare candies in the postgame and head to Mount Silver at level 68. Red leads off with Pikachu, whose main attacking moves are Thunder and Thunderbolt, which we resist, but Pikachu also uses Charm, which lowers our attack by 2 stages, meaning Return is not going to be a good option. If we reset for a Charm Miss, we can 2-shot Pikachu with Return. Second is Espeon, who takes 2 Thunders to defeat, but it outspeeds and Psychic takes us out. Okay, well what if we get a crit or Quick Claw Pop? What happens then? Okay, so we survive a Psychic from full HP and get a Quick Claw Pop paralysis so we can get through to Snorlax and Thunder does nothing. Okay, that's going to be an issue. I thought long and hard about this one, staring at Mareep's moveset, even looking at things like Egg moves and Tutor moves and Crystal, using other items like the Pink Bow to raise my normal type damage with a Return, Focus Band to survive a hit, etc. The best strategy I came up with actually involved using a combination of Curse and Rest to set up versus the Pikachu to get +6 attack and defense, to hopefully try and sweep his team, but Mareep's just too slow and squishy. Red's team just outspeeds us and one-shots us with special attacks. With this strat I was able to get to Venusaur often enough, since Snorlax can't really do a lot to us with +6 defense. The problem was that Venusaur would outspeed us, so we need a Quick Claw Pop on the second turn so it doesn't one-hit KO us with Solar Beam. And even if we did get that, Blastoise comes in and one-shots us with Surf. Even if we got a Quick Claw Pop, we would also need a Crit Thunder for it to be taken down, and even if we got that, we would need the same insane luck for Charizard. The odds of this series of events is so unlikely that I can't in good conscience consider it a valid way to beat the game, since it would take so long to actually pull off without save states between attacks. If we pretend that we could get to Venusaur 100% of the time, which definitely isn't true, we barely ever got to Venusaur, just to get the Quick Claw Pops and crits necessary to take out the last 3 Pokemon would be a roughly 1 in 20,000 chance. So that isn't happening without some serious save scumming. I spent about 3 days pondering how I could get this done. I tried every strategy I could think of, and that was the only one which was even somewhat realistically possible. I really didn't want to admit defeat since we'd gotten all the way to red, but even more importantly there was something I wanted to do even less. Because this whole time there was an easy solution staring me right in the face that I did not want to do if there was any possibility that I could avoid it. And that was Double Team. Yeah, I know. Double Team is cheating, it breaks the game, wah wah wah. I know the Pokemon community's opinion on Double Team, and after doing the Cyndaquil run last week, believe me when I say I did not want to use Double Team. I used it in the Cyndaquil run because I didn't have a choice. That run would have been dead at Falkner without smokescreens, so I took that as saying we absolutely need evasion for it to be possible, and that's what these runs are about. Seeing if it's possible. It's not about whether people are going to boo or hiss at the strats I'm going to use, it's about getting the answer, and quite frankly, Double Team is the answer here. We didn't need it until now, but I cannot for the life of me think of any other strategy where Mareep defeats Red on minimum battles. It's just too slow and frail. If it learned some sort of setup move which boosted speed or special attack, then maybe it would be possible, but it doesn't. We're playing this run with what we have to work with, and that includes Double Team. And with Double Team, it only takes us less than 3 minutes to win. We set up 6 Double Teams, then 6 Curses, then sweep through his whole team with Return. Is it cheap? Is it broken? 100%. But that's what we needed. If we didn't use it, then this run would be impossible, so if you really hate Double Team, then the answer is no. Mareep cannot defeat Pokemon Gold and Silver on minimum battles. But if you open your mind just a bit, it can. And it can even do so with very little trouble. And with that rant out of the way, we've successfully beaten Pokemon Gold with just a Mareep doing minimum battles. Just like Cyndaquil, it wasn't easy, but it was only truly hard in a couple places, namely the random hiker with 3 Geodudes at the start, and then blue and red at the end. Most of the other major fights went down in sub 10 minutes, which honestly surprised me. Mareep struggled a lot against teams of multiple Pokemon since his low speed meant it continually took damage when all the Pokemon did was attack. To be completely honest, this run should not have been possible. If trainers didn't try to set up against us, giving us time to exploit that and one-shot them, there is no way Mareep ever would have won. If Blue's Alakazam only ever used Psychic instead of sometimes using Reflect, we wouldn't have won. If Lance's Gyarados didn't help us out by setting up Rain Dance turn 1, boosting our Thunder accuracy, we wouldn't have won. If Will's Pokemon didn't waste time with Confuse Ray or Double Slap and use Psychic instead, we wouldn't have won. The list goes on. We were only able to win by exploiting these weaknesses in their AI, and that's the type of strategies I love. Seeing the flaws in your opponent's strategy and being able to adapt and overcome them. Now that I've babbled on for a few minutes, if you like what you've seen, then hit the like button, and I'll get working on the next challenge. Comment on what Pokemon I should do in the future, or an interesting strategy that I missed, and I'll see you in the next one.